Salutations everyone, welcome to What Mattered, the show where I tell you not what happened this weekend, but only what mattered. Jon Favreau is going to be directing a Lion King live-action reboot. I wonder who's going to be cast as the humans. Our first story this week is about Destiny. You know, the game Destiny that was super hyped and really didn't deliver on most of the things that people were expecting a game of this nature, but it was the first game of its nature, so you gotta give the credit where it is due. Even if it may be light on content, really leaning on DLC to keep people interested, and even then, it just seems kind of too little for the price. Well, Destiny 2 is something I think we can all get excited for because we're leaving the old generation in the past, as is with the Rise of Iron. They didn't even have a 360 or a PS3 iteration of that DLC, which is good. Look at the numbers of either the sales or the player base as it is right now. No one's playing on those older consoles, so it was good that they threw that out when they made Rise of Iron. And with Destiny 2, there's so much that they can do without, the memory limitations and, the graphics and the particle effects and all that good awesomeness. Rumor has it it's also going to be heading to PC, and that Destiny 2 is going to be a much more different game than the first one, even if this means leaving your old Guardians behind. Now, I think this is a good thing. Much like when we go from, not like WoW expansions to expansions, Destiny 2 isn't going to be just like an add-on from what we see in Rise of Iron. They say it's going to be a completely different game, at least according to this source. And the fact that it's going to be on PC makes sense. Bigger clientele base right there who missed out in the first generation, where maybe the first generation might have had people have their doubts about getting a second game. But now that they've gone through the growing pains and, they know more about what they want to do, giving people more story because the first one didn't really have one, or give you more content, or just focusing more on what, current age engines can do, I think this is definitely a good step forwards. Now, as far as leaving your old Guardians behind, while, in some RPGs, you can keep them, like you say, from WoW all the way over, or some, crossbred RPG games, I think we should more akin this one to, say, like Diablo 2 to Diablo 3, where you couldn't carry over your characters. Granted, there was a huge span of time in between those games, but they need to make a lot of changes in that this kind of game needs to be good when it comes to repetitive tasks. Those repetitive tasks can't be too monotonous, and they also have to be rewarding, which Diablo 3 did a great job fine-tuning. Maybe not at the launch, which of course had a lot of problems, but that game just got better and better and better as it went on in its updates from Diablo 3's launch to, even 2 years ago, let alone to what it is now. So I think with those things in mind, I think it's fine that you're leaving your old Guardians because there's just going to be so much more stuff to do, fingers crossed, in Destiny 2 that maybe people who liked the first one be like, all right, I don't care about that first one because the second one gives us so much new stuff to deal with, and I don't care I have to grind new characters, because maybe they're going to be completely changing skill trees and stats and light levels. Maybe there aren't even going to be light levels, how you earn weapons. There's so many things that they can change for the better in a game that did absolutely have promise. Even if you didn't enjoy it or as much as you wanted to, or if you didn't feel like the DLC was worth your time, you could have at least seen this game has promise and has probably earned another try in a sequel that does offer either more content or a better base game as the first one stood. And I think that we definitely can get our hopes up for that. And even if we leave our old Guardians behind, no matter if they try to explain that in the story, that's fine. If not, I have no problem with leaving behind my old Guardian and all the old stuff, because there's a lot to change and revamp and reboot in this game to make it better. And a fresh start, I think, is the best way to do that. And who knows, maybe it finally is revealed that the speaker was the bad guy and he killed your old Guardian. Because let's face it, that dude's been shady since the fucking alpha. Break out your Opie sweaters and your Moomin Rider cosplays, because One Punch Man is getting a second season. That obscure, awesome story that started as a webcomic, then became a manga, and then just a year ago blew the world away with its anime. It was like the most #1 talked about thing last fall, and is right now currently having its dub session on Toonami. It's getting a second season, absolutely confirmed, and I think everybody can deal with some more Saitama awesomeness. Because it's just funny, breaks the mold, makes fun of anime, and everyone's really enjoyed it. I feel like that has at least watched it, has gotten something out of it. So, Season 2, pretty cool. No release date, but we do have official word that there's going to be a second season. We all know that No Man's Sky received a bit of a rough landing when it finally came out to the masses, and was receiving a lot of complaints about the lack of game that there was, and how it wasn't what the game was supposed to be according to its advertisements. Well, the Advertising Standard Authority, based in the UK, has received enough complaints that they are launching an investigation that No Man's Sky's advertising promises did not lead to the finished product. They say that there is video and articles about the game released from this developer about the game having different kinds of combat, different kinds of buildings and flight patterns, and different kinds of creatures and how you interact with the game. So much though that people, of course, were demanding refunds, and it was a whole debacle. I don't really understand where the hype of this game came from. I was never interested in it, and whenever I would ever hear about this game, all I would hear was, no loading screens, like that makes a game good for whatever reason. It was obvious from the very beginning that this was going to be one of the most overhyped, most disappointing games of all time, and of course it had a crash landing when it came out. Lack of content and lack of just things to do, no multiplayer, and the combat was different. There was that big day one patch, and according to this Advertising Standards Authority, there's been enough complaints and enough differentiation between what was shown and or promised and what the finished product was that an investigation is underway. Whether something will come out of this seems probably unlikely, but when you get enough people saying the same things over and over, maybe somebody will listen. And when it comes to a small developer like this, it was kind of weird to have such high expectations on what the game could be. But hey, Hype Machine feeds into itself as a positive system and can definitely get out of control. If you don't check yourself, you will indeed wreck yourself. And sometimes the company that you were hyping so much. Hi-Rez's team-based shooter Paladins, Champions of the Realm, which was much been talked about in the last couple of weeks, is getting an open beta on console, much like Smite did, their previous game, and there was that whole debacle about it's copying Overwatch, which is a really, really weird criticism to have because that's not how video games are made. Overwatch didn't come out and then a studio in a couple of weeks made a game just like it, because that's not physically possible. Also, as was mentioned by the head of the Hi-Rez, that the characters in question that were so-called copied from Overwatch were already revealed and playable before said copied characters from Overwatch were even revealed. So, obvious, weird people coming out saying crazy shit, as they tend to do on the internet, especially since Hi-Rez Realms has made team-based shooters in the past with a lot of influence from Team Fortress 2, as they've said for years. So this game didn't come out of the blue, it wasn't made in a week, and their characters came out before Overwatch characters were even announced. Not to say that Overwatch copied anyone, for the exact same reason I just stated why Paladins didn't copy Overwatch, Overwatch didn't copy Paladins. The same data is available to all the game makers, and they can see where wants are wanted in the game-making universe, and sometimes things happen to line up. We also see that happen in movies as well. With Overwatch being such a popular, amazing game, there are games like Battleborn that definitely fell to the wayside, which people were saying, oh, it's going to become free to play, and then they were all like, yeah, no, that's not happening. So that's not a thing. And Paladins is a thing. It didn't copy anybody. A lot of people like it. It's been in beta on PC for a long time, and it's also getting an open beta for the PS4 and Xbox One that you can sign up for right now to give it yourself a try on how this game might stack up to Overwatch or other games, because hey, guess what? We can play more than one game. It's crazy. I know. Maybe you want to play more Overwatch than every other game, like some people, but hey, maybe you want to give Paladins a try, and it might, who knows, maybe it's more suited for you. At the very least, it's free. Try it out. Your PlayStation Plus free games for October go as follows: the Resident Evil HD remake, as well as Transformers Devastation on the PS4. On the PS3, you get From Dust and Mod Riders for free. And on the PlayStation Vita, you get Code Realize Guardians of Rebirth and Actual Sunlight, which is something some of us don't get enough of. Obviously. And your free games for gold for October on the Xbox One go as follows: Super Mega Baseball Extra Innings and The Escapists. And on the 360, as well as XB1 via backwards compatibility, I Am Alive and Motocross vs. ATV Reflex. Any Hootie and the Blowfish, this was what mattered. My name is whatever you want it to be. Thank you all for watching. Leave your comments below on anything that I mentioned this week. What Mattered comes out every single Saturday, so if you want to hit the sub button, make sure you don't miss one. The button's right there. It's hard to miss. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.